Welcome back. It is turning into a beautiful day here in the Mile High City. Well, is there a risk between wildfires and climate change? A new short film is examining that issue. Ted Wood, one of the filmmakers, and firefighter Rod Morada are here to tell us about unacceptable risk. First of all, let's talk about with you, Ted. What is the film about?
The film explores the relationship that climate has to the extreme behavior of fire that we've experienced on the Front Range, mainly in the past 5 years, but also up until from 2002.
So it goes all the way back to the Hayman Fire,
Yes,
which was up until 2010, and then until 2012, 2013, the Hayman Fire was, kind of the Colorado fire of record. Well, in 2010, Rod, as a firefighter and unfortunately as a homeowner, you were severely affected by the 4 Mile Fire. Yes. And this one's featured in the film.
That's right.
Yes, I was. The 4 Mile Fire was another one of these extreme fire events where it grew exponentially in a matter of 20 minutes to the point where we couldn't put it out.
But you were not only a firefighter in that one, you were also a victim as well.
Yes, I did lose my own home in that fire during the course of the day, along with many others.
And I know the film really takes us through, say, from the Hayman Fire to 4 Mile Fire to Waldo Canyon Fire to the Black Forest Fire. Talking about what's happened with these forest fires over, the past decade plus. Rod, what are you seeing as you're getting into these fires? How have they changed over the past, 10 to 15 years?
The biggest thing that we see is that Colorado typically used to have wind-driven fires. And so a fire event in Colorado was 1 to 3 days. Usually that first day was the big pulse, and then we would,
And usually the fire moving up the mountain, right?
Right.
And now we're seeing some of them coming down.
And now what we're seeing is what we call plume-dominated fires. That's how we separate a regular fire, if you will, from an extreme fire event. And Hayman was the first time that we had seen that in Colorado, where this fire wasn't going to go out in 2 days.
Yeah.
And we realized this was going to be a multi-week event, and that hadn't really been seen before, and that was the beginning of it. And same thing as we see 4 Mile and Waldo and High Park. These are fires that really get established and just move through that forest in a way that's just very different than just a simple wind-driven fire. They're really established and burning hard, and you can't put those out very simply.
And I know, January and early February, I was getting very, very nervous that we were potentially looking at the possibility of another 2012, 2013 fire season, since we didn't have much snow. So I'm certainly grateful that we've gotten the amount of snow recently. And Ted, it really sounds like that this film takes individual fires and takes us into those and shows us what the weather is like in those events, but then really looks at that bigger issue of the broad climate change that these fires that we're seeing, much more magnitude, much more destructive, much more intense.
Much more intense, and that I think is the key word right there, Michelle, because climate data shows that Colorado is warming up twice as fast as the national average right now. We've also paired with that, we've had these extreme fire events since mainly Waldo and up through 2 years ago. And what we wanted to do is try to personalize this climate data, and one of the best ways to do that is to bring it down to earth and show people that are really being affected by these changing conditions. And some of the biggest changing conditions were the extreme behavior of the fires. And who's on the fires?
The firefighters.
The firefighters. And they are students of weather and climate just by the nature of their work.
Well, Ted and Rod, thanks for coming in. I cannot wait to see this. I really, really do want to see it. Unacceptable Risk. It's sold out tonight in Boulder, but you can catch it tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the Boulder Public Library, the Canyon Theater, and then also Thursday at 5 at the CSU Laurie Center. It's going to be at the Grey Rock, which was an area that was affected by a fire in the Grey Rock room there in the Laurie Student Center. So, guys, let's go from talking about fires to talking about the snow that's on the way as we